Hello and welcome to Filmi, ladies. We are here with the most important four words in Hindi cinema. Kuch Kuch Hota Hai.
Followed up by "तुम नहीं समझोगी Beth."
That'd be a really fun contest, actually. Like, what are your four favorite words in Hindi cinema? And it's not Mere Paas Mahe, it's Kuch Kuch
No.
Hota Hai, even to me.
Mine would probably be "Dil to Pagal Hai" actually.
Okay.
Although in my case, it's everything pagal hai. It's like body pagal hai, brain pagal hai, memory pagal hai. Everything is pagal with me. T-shirt pagal hai. I'm wearing my Jaws T-shirt.
And
I'm nothing if not a fan.
before this started, I challenged Pitu to show her shirt on the video and see if we could come up with a way to link them. And I have come up with one link, which is extremely catchy theme music. You hear
Yes.
da da, and you very likely know it's Jaws. That's even shorter than the Kuch Kuch,
Yes.
key theme. But both have very distinctive, fairly short key
Yes.
musical themes. We're talking about this movie to jump on the 25th anniversary bandwagon, which neither of us had really realized was coming until we both saw it on our social media. I've talked about this film a fair amount in the past. I'm sure you have too, both, just with friends and on social media and wherever else. But I was shocked at how much I noticed that I hadn't noticed before this time. Mostly not in the like, oh my God, look at this fun detail, such as if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see the screenshot behind me is of this little girl at the camp who has the Anjali headband and bob, but then she's carrying a fake fur stole as though and making this very sassy hand gesture as though she is Pooh, who hasn't even happened yet. So this is like baby Pooh. I guess the chronology doesn't work because this is 3 years before we meet full-fledged Pooh. So obviously,
Right.
but this little girl is giving diva sass at age approximately 9, I think. So I have a lot to say about this film that I probably haven't said before because I noticed so many things. Let's start by maybe let's start with what struck us on this rewatch, and then we could maybe move into why we think it's still important, or if we think it's still important.
I think what really struck me on this rewatch, and I have seen Kuch Kuch Hota Hai many, many, many times because it is one of my favorite Shah Rukh Khan movies. Like my favorite Shah Rukh Khan movies are basically Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, which is my number one movie of all time, and Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. And I really enjoy Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna as well. So all three of them are KJO movies. A person I love to hate in real life, but
Do you like
I
My
love
Name
his
is Khan
direction.
also?
No, I detest that. But I also detest Kal Ho Na Ho because I'm opposed to anything in which Shah Rukh Khan dies.
Okay.
So that is it's just
Spoiler.
a I mean, at this point, if we're gonna give spoilers,
People know.
yeah. I think my overwhelming feeling after watching this, because it's been a bit of a gap since I last saw it. Like I think the last time I saw this movie was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a
Um,
while.
yeah, so on this rewatch, I was really struck by how like phenomenal Shah Rukh, Rani Mukherjee, and Kajol are, and Karan Johar as a director is, even though it's his debut film. The music by Jatin Lalit is on point. The choreography by Farah Khan is on point. The supporting actors, whether it's Farida Jalal or Rima Lagu or Himani Shapuri, are on point. The kids are on point. I usually absolutely despise Bollywood
The
kids.
kids are all right.
So good, so good, which is really a big change. The choreography is amazing. Everything about this movie still holds up for me, and I think recently I watched so much Drek and watched so many even like trailers of movies that I know are Drek, and therefore I won't see the movies, but the trailers are bad enough that I was just kind of shocked at how far standards have fallen. Like just a few days ago, Karan Johar was saying in an interview that he thinks that Sara Ali Khan, Ananya Pandey, and Janvi Kapoor are like the future of Bollywood. And I was like, oh, good Lord, we're doomed. Whereas in this movie, this is literally, I think, Rani Mukherjee's fourth film because she did Beer something, her first movie, which was Bengali. Then her second movie was Raja Ki Aayegi Barat, which is a horrible movie. I've seen it. Her third movie was Gulam, and her fourth was
Mm,
Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. And in such a small role, she's so impactful and fabulous. The
yeah.
music is still so catchy, and the choreography is still so catchy, and everybody's chemistry is so good. And I was just like, I would rather just keep watching these Karan Johar like romances than bother with anything new. And I also found it funny that this is the first movie that introduced us to Bollywood's idea of the Archies, because
Right.
Karan Johar has said that
Yeah.
it's very much like Archie, Veronica, Betty, Professor Weatherby, and all of that stuff. And now his daughter is coming as Veronica in, on 2nd of December when Archie's releases. So it's just, to me, it's just kind of like, I don't want anything new. Just give me the old stuff. I'll just rewatch it over and over. So mostly I was just like very happy to see it, but I was also very like disappointed because I'm very pessimistic about the future of Bollywood. So I was just very sad. What about you? What was like your main
Ooh,
overarching feeling?
okay. So there's some things that annoy me about this movie that still annoy me. I don't agree with you about the performances. I don't
Okay.
feel as strongly about them as you do in terms of them being good. I think they're fine.
Okay.
But to me, it's the writing that really stood out at this time, which maybe I'd never really thought about it. Maybe it never really struck
Yeah.
me, but I was just there's so many things about some of the characterizations that I thought were really good. Even if I don't like that person, I like how they were written and thought they were written really
Yeah.
thoughtfully. Um, I was struck by, so the music for me on this one has never been a standalone, like, I'm just going to go listen to this. But in the context of the film, I think the songs work so
Yes.
beautifully and how they refer back to each other and how musical bits are, cues
It's
come up.
really well done.
It's very well crafted, I would say. And then, gosh, I mean, so maybe there's two things I want to bring up as sort of overall that really, really sank in for me this time. One is the first part of it is less appealing to me than the second part, which is how I felt about K3G also when we did that rewatch. So I came to this movie as like a 35-year-old or whatever, because obviously I didn't watch this when it came out, although not that long, only like 7 years after it came out. But I was struck by, I was like, how old are these people? Because they're
Yeah.
acting like they're in high school. But then when Ronnie comes in and she's been to Oxford, I was like, oh, they're in university. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what college meant in India at that point. I'd seen like 3 Hindi films. So, because I watched this fairly early on. So I have never been able to shake my initial impression of how immature the younger versions of these people are. And if they're Archies, that makes sense, right? Because the Archies
Right.
those people are in high school, they are not in university.
Yes.
So, this sort of like dance contest where everyone's got a banner and stuff, I was like,
Yeah.
does that happen in university in India? Like, I don't know.
No.
So there's something kind of like grating about the younger versions. Everyone's a little shrill to me. Rahul is insufferable
He is.
as a young man. And also I was trying to think what was really getting at me about this. And so we've recorded this actually after the episode you're going to get from us next week, where I go into quite a bit about the budget for a particular film and its apparent lack of budget. This is dripping with money, but I kept thinking about it's new money. It's not classy.
Yes. No, oh
It's
no,
not a
but it's Karan
sophisticated
Johar.
wealth. But I think some of his other films do have a more sophisticated wealth, or maybe it's just wealth that's more to my taste. I don't know. But I also understand that fits the newly globalized open economy of India in the 90s. I get
Mhm.
it. But this is an extremely showy, gaudy, bright wealth where the words are literally on the characters'
Literally.
clothes, right? Like it's
Yeah.
DKNY and polo and everything else.
It's like a Polo Ralph Lauren commercial.
Yeah, there's a lot of very advertisement-y aspects to this. This is not a classy wealth like we saw in, Rocky or Ronnie, where like Ronnie's family is very classy wealthy.
Right.
And even the Punjabi family, who is supposed to be showy wealthy, they're not like
Logos.
quite as logo-y. Again, it's 25 years later in fashion, whatever. So that
Yeah.
the like new money of this sort of ostentatiousness, like this is not a Pansali wealth. This is
No. This is actually Real Housewives of Beverly Hills wealth,
yeah, I'll take your word for it because
which
I would not
I
watch that with a
watch.
barge pole, but
Oh, I'm addicted to Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. There's a person, I was going to say character, but she's like a caricature at this
right.
point. There's a person in it called Dorit Kemsley, and she is such a joke. I will watch the episodes just to see what she's wearing. And in one episode, she was literally wearing Louis Vuitton from head to toe. And I do
Right.
mean from head to toe.
Head to toe.
Everything, like her
Yeah.
shirt and her pants and her jacket and her bag and her boots and her earrings were all Louis Vuitton. And I was like, you
Yuck.
look like a joke. It is
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Please stop. But also I
Yeah.
can't stop watching her. So
Yeah. Then the other thing that this has struck me before, but I hadn't quite articulated it, is I love sad Anjali. I
oh
think
yes.
sad Anjali is heartbreaking. I think that is probably the best performance I've ever seen from Kajol, who is not my favorite as an actor.
Right.
She's really not, but I think she's like kind of enjoyable. But this, I think she nails this. She
Yeah.
yanks my heartstrings with this. Um, the sad song is so beautiful.
So
Um,
good.
and also what I was writing notes while I watched this, and I wrote, OMG, is Anjali a model of self-knowledge and boundaries? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Because when she realizes she's too sad to deal with these people and she can't do it, she leaves. And I hope she finished her university degree at least. I hope she didn't
Right.
feel, let's assume she transferred or something.
Yeah.
But I just love that she says, I can't do this anymore. And she creates a better life for herself, at least as she understands it at that time. She tries to do her best with that. I love that she has a mother who, according to subtitles, as I understand it anyway, says to her, when she's about to get married to Aman and her mom has realized she's not happy. And she says, you know, I wrote it down. What does she say? And Anjali says, I'm happy and that Aman's a good man and he loves her. And then her mom says, does she love him? And she says, she's already been in love and she's going to think about this as a compromise. Like
Yeah.
the self-knowledge there is really amazing. And then her mom says, a house built on a compromise is just a house. It's not a home.
Yeah.
The rest is up to you. And then the mom
Right.
leaves. And I love this because it's not how the parents talk in DDLJ, a film I really don't like,
Mhm.
because those parents are like, you either obey/submit or you just dash away. And
Right.
here she's saying, you have a choice, you have decisions to make, implying that Anjali is an adult and she can decide for herself. And I was like, yes,
Yeah.
like this is actually some reasonable parenting in a movie from 25 years ago. So I just like be a grown up and make some decisions, which Anjali sort of does. By the ending, really it's Aman who makes the decision,
Right.
which is interesting. But I just there's something about self-knowledge for Anjali that I really really like. And in the song, which song is it that's set in Scotland, and like people are
Oh,
kind of
the
dancing in,
title song.
yeah, that's right, dancing in combinations, and she's just kind of happily dancing with herself because she's thinking
Yeah.
about her love and everything. And I was like, that's really
Just like
relatable.
waltzing by
And
herself.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
kind of that spin of like you often get movies where especially a female lead is kind of dancing in her bedroom, being all happy, listening to records or whatever. It's like a different kind of song, the song transport that we get, teleport that we get in Hindi cinema, like it's working that way. So yeah, I'll stop with those two for now. There were more things I noticed, but just like how well written some of these emotions and
Yeah.
some of these people I think really are. On the flip side, I would like to say that boy, Anupam Kher's character really grating. And I was grossed out this time by his obsession with what the women
Mrs.
students are
Braganza.
wearing. No.
Yeah.
Like with what the women students are wearing. And then he turns around and is like all flirty with Ms. Braganza or like, and then I don't know if this is supposed to be a commentary on the fact that he used to live in Britain and now he's moved back to India. So now he's more sensitive to like short, like showing, I don't know. It's all just kind of gross. Like
Mhm.
his policing of women's clothing is really gross to me, especially when his daughter comes and you see how she dresses and you're like, hey, dude, you're just like whack. You are messed up and
Yeah.
weird. um, but yeah, so and also just how aggravating Rahul is. And while he is less aggravating as a grown-up, I would say, I'm not impressed with this man as a romantic lead or whatever.
Right.
And they both cheat at basketball. Let's be clear. You cannot run holding
Right.
the basketball. That is traveling. That is cheating. They're both
Right.
cheaters.
They are.
I don't like that.
Beth, maybe you and I should have a basketball match. I am very unathletic, so you will easily beat
Yeah, I'm
me. So
pretty
I will have to
unathletic as
cheat.
well, and I haven't played basketball in a very long time. I am taller than you, so that might give me a little bit of an
You're taller
advantage.
than me. Yes. But I'm squirrely compared to you, and I'm also
That
very
I believe.
sneaky. So I will get past you.
Mm.
Either of us could win. It
But
depends.
then we can do,
We
you
can do
know,
that.
do the special
And then
the
maybe do
special
like a
handshake.
choreographed dance or something. That would be
This one,
fun.
I like this one.
Yeah,
You
we'll do that
too.
one.
Yeah. So okay, let me ask you about young Anjali for a minute though. So you were saying you thought the kids do a really good job in this movie.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. They're not annoying at all. I think she's very sweet, very hard. I mean, some of it I do always roll an eye. The idea that her mom has written her these letters, and now like this 8-year-old kid has to go and matchmake for her dad. I mean, that
It's a
still
lot.
makes me go, yeah, that's to me that's still very, very
It's a silly device.
silly, and it's
Yeah.
a very like Bollywood child. Only a Bollywood child would do that. Because when I was 8, I was not matchmaking. I was watching TV. You
Although
know,
we're still doing it
um,
in Javan, as we talked about, like, we've got the
yes,
child matchmaker there. I feel
it's
that this little actor is a little bit shrill and annoying at times, but not more so than the average filmy kid, and certainly not
yeah.
the worst of them by any long
No,
shot. But
no, she's
she's
pretty
okay.
good, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, she's not bad. My favorite filmy kid will always be Jugal Hansraj, because him and Masoom and like it's just so darling. But she's really good in it. I
Mhm.
think all the little kids in like Camp Sunshine or whatever are like fun and
And
cute.
the little boy who
Um,
doesn't talk is he's so cute with his,
he's
but
so
not having to
funny.
talk is actually helpful, I think, because I think dialogue is usually where kids have a harder time, child
Yes.
actors,
And
understandably.
also, I don't want to look at the children. I just
No.
want to look at Shahrukh. So like, please
Yes.
stop, you know. But I think she's pretty good. I think she has also like a really good sense of humor. I love the interactions between her and Dadi. Like Farida
Yeah.
Jalal is such a child, and like in
She's
like such a
cute.
childlike cute way. And they're so fun, and the way they like, take the best out of Rahul, like they tease Shahrukh. I just find that adorable. And then Farida Jalal is hands down my favorite mom for Shahrukh to have. Like they just
Ah,
have such a warmth and camaraderie
they
and
are cute
chemistry.
together.
I cannot stand Kiran Kher. Like I
Right.
cannot. So anytime she plays his mom, I'm like, oh. But Farida Jalal and Shah Rukh Khan, I think they both have that sort of like mischief and
There's
twinkle in
that
their eyes.
scene, I think, in the first half where she's, doesn't she mention that someone's wanting to set him up with someone?
Mr.
And they,
Sharma is
yeah, they both just
phoning.
kind of sit there and they kind of put their heads on each other's shoulders, and both of them have
I
lost a
know.
spouse, and it's really cute.
They're so sweet. I love that. Shah Rukh with any mom figure, it just like warms my
Your
heart. It is
favorite.
my favorite. It's my favorite. Shah Rukh with Kaveri Amma in Swadesh, Shah Rukh with Farida in this. Even Shah Rukh with Farida Jalal, his to be mother-in-law in DDLJ, like everything.
Mm.
Like there's that scene where she's crying and Kajol is crying, and then he's like, तुम्हारे घराने में तुम्हारी फैमिली में सबको रोने की बीमारी है क्या? Like, does everyone in your family cry? He's just they Shah Rukh and his mom is like one of my favorite things. Someone needs to make me a montage of Shah
Oh,
Rukh with his various on-screen mothers because it
there you
just
go.
warms my heart. But yeah, they're really good as well. Anupam Kher and Miss Braganza don't bother me as much, but that's because Archana Puran Singh just makes me laugh all the
I
time.
love her. I love her. I feel like
Yeah,
there's something sort of I am authentically this person and I'm kind of zany about her that I like, whereas he's always kind of, I feel like he's very cloying and whatever.
yeah,
And the fact that the principal of the school is being so weird about his students kind of frustrates me. And like, I don't
yeah.
know. I don't want him as my educational administrator or as a classroom teacher, frankly. But
Right, right.
now, do I
No,
think
but
Ms.
they
Braganza is a great teacher? Maybe not, but
probably not.
that's okay.
But she's funny. She's
She's fun.
zany. I like her. She's hysterical.
And
I
she's
love.
barely there, which is the correct amount.
Yes, that is the correct amount of Arjuna Puran Singh at any
Mhm.
time. But like when she's barely there, she's great.
Yeah.
So she's really cute. I love her in that song, Koi Mil Gaya, where towards the end she's like so caught up in the
Yeah.
excitement. She
Yeah.
throws her shoes off and they
Yeah.
land on these students and they're like, where are these shoes coming from? And she starts dancing. She's hysterical. So like a lot of the stuff in this is just like pitch perfect, which I enjoy. And every time I watch this movie, I'm like, Rahul is so enjoyable to watch on screen, but God, he would be such an annoying boyfriend to have.
I don't,
But
I
that's what
mean,
makes him funny. That's what makes him
being,
charming.
yeah, being, how is he Anjali's best friend? Or maybe he isn't, maybe she's his best friend or whatever she says about that.
She does say
He's
that. Yeah.
I have a question about Anjali because there's a
Yeah.
scene later in the film where he talks about what Anjali was like in college and he
Yes.
says uh like everyone brought her their problems. We never see that.
Yeah. No,
that
we
is
never see
that is a
that.
made up characterization. Like we don't really know anything about her in particular. He is clearly like the school flirt and
Casanova.
kind of show offy guy and whatever, and
Yeah.
clearly star athlete because he wins whatever race they're doing or whatever, or
Yeah.
football or whatever they're doing. But she seems to be more of a like that nutty Rahul, like a little bit,
Yeah.
not quite his sidekick, but sort of, or
Yeah.
like the principal among his many sort of people who enjoy watching him do whatever it is
Right.
that he's doing.
Because he's
Um,
always surrounded by a sort of like a fan club of like
yeah.
girls who have a crush on him or whatever. But I
Hmm.
don't get the sense that Anjali really has that many friends. I have a feeling that if Rahul and Anjali were to have a spat, all of those friends that
Oh yeah.
surround them, that go on the trip to Goa with them or cycle with them or have fun with them, they would all side with Rahul.
Oh, it's
So
all
it's
for
kind of
Rahul.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. So he's the sun that's shining, and she gets like some of that like leftover warmth from
I mean,
him.
she's the moon that sort of reflects some of that
Yeah.
glow.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a streak of, I don't want to say meanness, but there is insensitivity in Rahul. Like,
Huge. It is not a
yeah,
streak. It is a full like half of his
like
personality.
that scene when she comes in with the
uh
neon orange and the pink and everything, and everyone is like laughing at her. Which, by the way, did you notice it was Farah Khan and Manish Malhotra on the steps that
yes,
are
I
laughing at
did.
her? Yeah,
Yes, I
and
did.
he starts laughing too, and I'm like, "Ugh, Rahul, will you stop it?" But it's Tina who actually catches on, and she like nudges Rahul, and she's like, So I love the way that the girls in this movie are portrayed.
Yes. Their
Anjali is a
interaction is
girl's
nice.
girl, even though she's like
Hmm.
a tomboy or whatever, but she's like a girl's girl, and so is Tina. Tina
Yeah.
is not this mean girl person.
Nope.
She has some things in common with Rahul, which is they're both like very pretty and they're very like looks oriented and popularity focused and stuff like that. But she has heart, which
Hmm.
Rahul is much more sort of a little bit conceited and superficial and much more self-absorbed
I think
than
Tina
she is.
Tina brings a substance that
Yes.
apparently no one else at this school has projected before. Because
Yeah.
Anjali, she doesn't have much of a personality as a
No, she
young in the
doesn't.
younger version that isn't reacting to him or egging him on or having a spat with him. Like, because Tina is the one who actually puts him in his place. Tina is the
Yeah.
one who kind of replies to him with substance. Um,
Outsasses him. Yeah.
yeah. So it's
Anjali
hard.
is just,
I
she's just
like
too
her.
starstruck. She's just
Yeah.
too starstruck by him and clearly madly worships him. And so
Yeah.
she's not capable of any of that. And then I think when she realizes that he loves Tina and Tina loves him or whatever, and then that sort of that fog or that veil is kind of
Yeah.
lifted. And
Yeah.
then you just see her sort of like go through this breakdown and this meltdown. And then that like forms a different shift in who she is as a person, and that those years that she spends away from these ex-classmates of her, I think, makes her into the person that we see in the second part of the film. So
Yeah.
that's very interesting to me. Like, I'm very curious to know what was her journey when she left, like when
I
she
know
boarded
those
that
like
train
nine
and
years or
went
10
away.
years in
Yeah,
between
it's
what
like,
happened.
what is that thing that evangelicals talk about where they're like the lost years of Jesus? I want like a
She's
lost
wandering
years
in the
of
desert.
Anjali, just wandering in the desert and learning all the
Honestly,
things.
like what does Anjali do in those intervening, let's call it a decade to be generous. Like
Yeah.
I think that would be, I would love to know because I do think she is a um I mean, we are all different at say 30 than we are at 20 in some ways, but there's probably
Yes.
threads that connect us and that, I would love to see that because she still responds to him in a fairly similar way, or at least in some aspects, and um is happy to connect with that, but she's also in theory trying to, and we don't, if I understand correctly, I don't think we are supposed to think that she's been sitting around pining for him this whole
No,
time. She has sort
no.
of put that aside and moved on, but then can reconnect with it too. But
Yeah.
I kind of,
She her
she's somehow a teacher, at least at this
I think so.
camp, and like
Yeah.
question mark.
I'm still
Careers are
not
not a
sure
thing
what
here.
exactly she does. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, she goes to this camp for, so maybe she's like a counselor or a
She's kind
teacher,
of a
but
camp counselor, yeah, but that's not all year,
that's not like
clearly.
an all, yeah. So I'm not sure what she does. I
She
assume
beach,
Rahul, beach, yes. I assume
mountain.
Rahul's job is like, ex, because he's at the
He goes
export
to,
alliance
he's at
thing.
exporting. And you
Yeah.
know who else famously does import export is James Bond. So maybe he's James Bond. I know you're not into that, but you know,
Maybe he's actually a spy.
that would explain the super
That would
irritating
explain
persona.
Patan that happened much later.
Right.
But it's interesting, right? Because that's, I feel like if you look at it as like a graph, like a statistical graph, it's like Anjali goes from being extremely, extremely naive and childlike and just
Mm-hmm.
very sort of like, just very immature.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next time we see her 10 years later, she's here in terms of like how jaded she is. Like she's jaded.
Mm,
She doesn't want love. She wants a marriage of convenience. She wants compromise. She's willing to settle, but she's
yeah.
also grown as a person. And she's just sort of lost that like childishness that she had, which
Mm-hmm.
is appealing in some ways but also very sad in a lot of ways. Like you can grow up and be a sensible and mature person, but you don't have to lose that like that innocence in you. And she seems so bereft of that innocence, which makes me sad.
Yeah. She
Like
seems very
why are you not, she seems subdued,
yeah.
yes. Like
Yeah.
what, like why are you not, you can still have some of that goofiness in you. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean you have to be all like shut down. So I really am so curious about what happened in those 10 years. How badly did, was her heart broken, that she was just, it's like she seems like such a shadow of herself now, whereas that is not the case with Rahul. He literally went through the death of his spouse,
Yeah.
and he's a single dad, but he
Yeah.
still has that goofiness and laughter and humor and things in him. So it's like he came out of this like relatively unscathed. Like, yes, I feel sorry for Anjali, but it was just a boy that you
Yeah.
loved and he
It's just
never
a
loved you.
college romance. Yeah.
He lost his wife. That is a
Yeah.
much, much bigger deal. So he also has grown in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways, and in a lot of very good ways and a lot of really positive ways. And he's clearly a very, very good father and a very good son. And he's really like matured and grown into his relationship. So it's like they've both grown, but like her growth almost makes me sad for her. And
Yeah.
there's my favorite scene in the movie is actually when they're on that bench. She's wearing that olive green chiffon saree, oh, so gorgeous, and he's sitting next to her, and it's at night. And he says something to the effect of, I wrote you so many letters and like, but like you never responded or something. And then she says, humne ghar badal diya tha, we shifted houses. And he
Mm.
said, ghar ke sath rishte bhi badal diye the kya, like along with your house did you also change your relationships? And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, he went there. He said it, you know, makes me sad.
This is a stupid question, but I've never been able to quite understand
There
this.
are no stupid
Oh,
questions.
no, no, this might be a dumb question. Eh, Has her father died?
I'm pretty sure that she does not have a dad,
Because at
but
some
I don't
point,
think it's explicitly said. She
but
just only refers to her mom
doesn't
in
she say
college.
he's ill in one of the college
Yes, maybe
scenes?
that is why she has to go back home.
Or is she like uses that as an excuse to go back home? Or that maybe is partly why she's subdued? Because he's not at
Maybe.
wedding preparations at all.
No.
I
I
assume
mean,
he has
we
died.
know she's an only child, as is Tina, as is Rahul. Everyone in this movie is an only child, as are you and I. So this is what we have in common with these characters.
Hmm.
But I do believe she, I don't think she's ever had a dad, or maybe her dad was sick and it's one of those things that I just like forgot. But
Or maybe
at
he had
least,
been sick before and he's died by the time we meet her. I don't,
right. Yeah.
for some reason that kind of caught at me this time. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, is that why she's sad? Or why she's so,
In fact,
sort of
isn't
subdued?
everyone in this movie an only child with only one surviving parent? Because, like, when we meet
It seems
Rahul,
like it. Yeah.
yeah, like Rahul has Farida
Yeah.
Jalala's
Yeah,
mom, but
that's right.
where's his dad?
And
And then
Tina's
with
mom is
Tina, we
gone.
know his, yeah. So it's like, oh my God, what is that's an interesting coincidence.
I want to pick up on something you said about Rahul being a good parent, one of the
Mm,
things that struck me this time is the significance of this being the second half being set at a camp, because I
mm.
feel these are people who are at their best when they are around children,
Yeah.
interestingly. And is that because this helps them connect to, like, this is a place of what I wrote down is relative freedom, fun, free space,
Deity.
away from the everyday commitments and relationships of your day-to-day life, because like the adults aren't really working, because like Anjali technically works there, she doesn't really do anything as far as we see, and it's a place where it's easy for them to slip into the way they were when they were younger. Like I think there's something significant about it being a camp, and I like, if that hadn't struck me before, but I kind of liked that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's also with that whole trope of like holiday
Yeah,
movies
very
or
much.
and then of course the joke of some people even being on holiday not really being able to commit to the idea of a holiday, like
Hmm.
Ritik's character in Zindagi Mein Lagi Na Dobara, where it's like
Right.
it doesn't matter if he's on holiday, he still has to stop the car, put on his suit, and get on the business call with his Japanese partners. So I mean, that's, I think the fact that they're out of their humdrum life and they don't have to worry about like other things makes it easier.
Yeah.
And I have personally never been to camp, which is very sad,
Oh,
but
that
I
is
do have
sad.
a, so sad, but I have so many American friends who grew up going to like summer camps. I knew a lot of kids who went to like Jewish camps,
Right.
like in the
New
summer.
York
And
area, yeah.
yeah, and it's like they always talk about the friendships they formed at that time, and they may not still be friends with that person because it's like they lived in different parts of the East Coast or whatever,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
then they congregated there, and they were, you know, every summer they look forward to seeing those specific camp friends, and it's like a different bond that they share. And I remember asking one of my friends, was I was like, if you met one of your camp friends in like normal daily life, like would you just go have coffee with them? And they're like, no, they're my camp friends.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
it's like that's where we meet, but then after that we go, and I just always found that so interesting. It's like the closest I will ever get to going to a camp as an adult is like I've always wanted to go to like a writer's retreat. um
Yeah. There you
that
go.
would be fun, and then I wonder if I would have that same reaction where it's like, no, outside of writer's retreat I'm not meeting you for a coffee. But I think yes, that does have that element of we're out of our space and we can do what we want.
Let's
What?
have Bollywood fan summer camp,
Yes.
like 2 weeks. I don't know where, I don't know when. We'll do
Let's
it.
do it.
Comment down below if you want to come to Bollywood fan camp. Because we
What will we
did,
call it?
well, back in the
Because I
day, there
want
were,
like Camp Sunshine.
there were meetups and stuff sometimes. Like we had the
Yes.
blog meetups for or like we did one in Chicago. Like there were the German language people did meetups that I went over
Right.
for and didn't understand what was going on because I'm not fluent in German. Call it 3 semesters of college German, not enough, FYI.
Right.
That was super fun. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to come up with a good name for
We'll
it.
come up with a name that starts with K.
Camp
It could be
Chandani.
Coonberry Mount Camp, Crocodile Camp.
Crocodile Camp. I love it.
If I'm in charge of picking a location, I will pick the scariest, spookiest area that is known to have had sightings of like monsters. So maybe you shouldn't put me in charge of it.
Mm. I don't know. That does sound fun though, in a way.
Doesn't it? I'll like pick the
In a
Pine Barrens
way.
in New Jersey or something. And then maybe at night I will plot to throw someone to like the sharks or something. Anyway, um, how do you feel about Tina's characterization? Because I feel like even though it's such a short role
Hmm.
and we see so little of her, isn't almost everything we see of this person like a flashback? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
How I
Or
just
a
feel like she
ghost.
was so, yeah, I just feel like she was so impactful. Like Rani
She's
Mukherjee
good.
was so great, and she just brought so much like gravitas, as we love to say,
Hmm.
to this role, and she just seemed so like put together and poised, and not just in like a fashiony way, but just
Right.
like in general very like put
Tina
together,
Tina
sorted.
knows who she is. She knows what she wants, and but she's not going to be a jerk about it to other people because she is the kindest person to Anjali in this whole
She
movie,
is.
basically, and kinder than I think Rahul will ever be able to be to
Oh,
her.
for sure.
Again, this is another movie where I'm like, I don't feel great about this marriage, but we left them where they are. Yeah, I really love Tina, and I love the reappearances of her as sort of ghost Tina, like when she puts her hands over his eyes and he sees Anjali when, like
Yeah.
Tina is also A very forgiving and understanding person, I have to say, because I think most of us, if we've kind of got a crush on a guy who had a woman friend who's in love with him, we might be like, I'm gonna just nope out of this. This does not seem healthy for any of us. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna not. Now I think, are we this is another thing I've never quite understood about this movie. Are we to assume that they finish university, get married right away, have baby Anjali right away, and then Tina
I think
dies? So
so.
they're together for like a year and a half tops or something like
That's
that.
what I always assumed.
Yeah. The only thing I don't really like about Tina as a person is this weird conceit of the letters and asking your daughter to do this thing. Like, could you have written the letters to both the little girl and your mother-in-law, maybe? Like, it's just
Yeah.
kind of creepy and weird. And then when little Anjali tells grandma about it, like she's clearly in on it, but like doesn't say anything to the son, which is just, it's a movie device that would never actually happen,
Yeah.
I don't think. But yeah, Tina is really well written. I think she's beautifully performed. Ronnie's really good. She's not quite as polished as she is in later films, but that's fine. I think she's good. And that, that showdown with her and Shah Rukh with the, you got to sing something in Hindi, which a dialogue which he does not even do entirely in Hindi, if I recall. I'm like, you're such a
Yeah.
hypocritical piece of crap. I hate this guy.
Yeah.
And then when she like snaps out of there, like
Yeah.
I love that. And that she walks off and he's all like, ooh,
Yeah.
she got me, like
Yeah.
I like, and I think uh finding someone who will call you on your baloney is a pretty good thing in life,
Yeah.
frankly. To do it with kindness and with sort of integrity is a nice
Yeah.
thing. So I want better for Tina than Rahul, frankly, but and she maybe has gone off to a different plane of existence or whatever, so maybe she found it. But I really like Tina. I think she's a great character and well performed.
Yeah.
But again, my
I
hat's off to the writing in this, which is not something I had particularly thought about before, and I think it's very well written.
I think the other thing about this movie that I really enjoyed is the pacing. It's very
Yeah,
snappy. It's
moves
like boom,
along.
boom, boom, boom. Usually, my biggest problem with Hindi movies is the pacing. Like I remember when we were talking about Bulbulaya and Mani Chitratal, which is the episode that will come after this. 20 minutes, and I'm just like, oh my god, move it along. We don't need the comedy uncles. But here, I just feel like it's much more snappy. I think it's very
Yeah,
fast. And
it's
that
pretty
is something
snappy.
I appreciate about Karan
Yeah.
Johar in general, because I
Mm,
have the same appreciation for the pacing in Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna as well. He
mm,
doesn't spend a lot of time getting to the point. He just like goes there,
mm.
and it's very fast and it's snappy. And despite this movie being 25 years old, I find that amazing, because I find that a lot of times, even the movies that I do love, which are older, like that are 2 decades older or more, I find their pace very languorous.
Mm.
They just take forever to get to the point, and I'm like, move it along. And this one is pretty snappy, I think. So I really appreciate sort of the editing of it. I will say one thing about Shah Rukh is that okay, first of all, I'm incapable of objectivity because I'm Shah Rukh Khan. And he is my childhood crush. Like, I was literally a preteen when I discovered him in Divana, when he spun and did that. And that was it. I was lost. I was lost since then. So I am incapable of objectivity. But all of my friends like hate Shah Rukh's character in DDLJ, hate his character Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, hate his character in so many of his movies. Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, I hate that character too. But it's like, I just think he's very funny and charming. And I know that he has
He is
flaws.
funny. He is
He's
funny,
very
I
funny.
think, in this.
And
Yeah.
I know that he can be such a jerk. And I know that he can be such a dick in this movie, or
Oh,
in DDLJ for
yeah.
that matter. I just can't help rooting for him. And I appreciate him and I like him. And if Tina doesn't want him, I'll take him. And
My
I honestly do really think it's purely my Shah Rukh love that makes me say that. Because if you were to replace Shah Rukh with another actor, I would have no problem whatsoever agreeing with you or agreeing with my 1 million friends who are like, ugh, Raj in DDLJ is such a jerk. And I'm like, is he? It's
yes.
dimples. The dimples get to me, Beth. So I hear what you're saying, but I can't agree. It's like when someone told me the other day that that the shark in Jaws is a villain, and I was like, no, he's not. And my husband looked at me and he's like, he's a shark. Also, he's killing people. I'm like, that's what they do. They are sharks. They are carnivores. It is okay. It's the food chain people. So I can't be objective. It's fine.
I I don't like this person of Rahul, but I think that the way he's kind of constructed and all really it works very well in the
Yeah,
film. I think that as a performance, I find this a little, this is kind of hammy in a way that doesn't work for me particularly well. Some of it, I think, is the nonverbals. This man loves to make noises. And in general, I don't mind that, but I find it just a little much here because I don't know, it's just a little cartoony or something in a way.
it
But again,
is.
if this is Archie's and they are a cartoon, so like
Yeah.
maybe that's kind of what's not working for me. And again, it's just been a while and things change and aesthetics
Although,
change and whatever.
although to your point, if it is the Archies, we don't see Rani Mukherjee doing that.
No, she doesn't. She's much less
Right.
kind of shrill and whatever.
Yeah,
And
she's not cartoony.
I am using shrill for all the genders in this film.
Yes.
This is not pointed at women specifically. This is pointed at Rahul as well. And he's just I don't know. I think Shah Rukh kind of overdoes it. However, there are moments that I think are great. One that I noticed this time that I hadn't before, it's after Ghost Tina. And we kind of see, there's this like, I wrote micro expression in my notes. There's just like this flash where he's like, I can't, this won't stand. I have to do something, and he tries to,
Mm.
go after Anjali or whatever. That on the flip of that, I do find it interesting that Aman is dragging Anjali by the arm across that giant house. We know he's taking her to Rahul, but Rahul
Yeah.
doesn't know that. And he just kind of lets it happen. I'm like, you're going to let this guy manhandle your best friend? Like, I don't like that about you, but like
Yeah.
actually burst in as a hero for once.
Yeah.
We have to talk about my favorite scene in the movie, probably the favorite scene of many people, the gazebo. Woo!
Scorching. It is so
Scorching hot.
scorching. I took so many screenshots. I was like going crazy. And also his lipstick is so obvious. And it's like, yeah, I know actors wear makeup, but his like lipstick is very like rosy red. And literally for a
Oh,
second,
yeah, I
I was
guess
like,
so.
what shade is that? Like which lipstick brand and what shade is that? Because it looks hella good. But like he's like, at first I was like, he's sweating, but then I realized it's raindrops. And then it's just so good. They have done that so beautifully. And it's like, say what you will about Shah Rukh and Kajol as a pair. I know a lot of people don't like them as a pair. Of course, for those people, there's double the people who love them as a pair.
Sure.
They have hella hot, scorching chemistry. Also, Exhibit A is this. Exhibit B is Suraj Hua Madham in Kabhi
Sure.
Khushi Kabhi Gum. Beautiful. And I love that scene where he does the tan ta 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 whatever with his fingers, the piano tune. And
Yeah,
then
that
she's like,
scene.
no music. And then he does
Oh.
that again. And it's just like
And I had forgotten that it
crazy.
follows on the charades game. So it makes sense that he's
Yeah.
not doing anything out loud. Like I just
Yeah.
I've forgotten that. Ooh, that scene is
So
really
good.
good.
It's really good. Yeah. There's actually a deleted scene from Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum that has something similar where she's wearing like a black sari or something. I have no idea why. There are so many good scenes, deleted scenes in Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum that when I saw them, I was like, you should have kept all of these. And there were so many stupid scenes in that movie, primarily Amitabh Bachchan being a dick and Jaya Bachchan crying, that you could have deleted.
Yeah.
But there's sort of this like seductive scene in K3G where she's wearing a
Mm,
black sari, which is very good. I think it's like he is working late at night in his home office and he's like
mm.
working and then she like tries to seduce him or whatever and he doesn't pay any attention to her and then she's like she gets miffed and she starts walking away. You should look for that scene and watch it.
Okay.
It's really good.
And
But
actually
yes, this scene
showing
is
more
great.
of their romance after they've moved off to London
Yeah.
would make sense in the film. That would be good. That's too
Yeah.
bad it's cut. There's another moment in this one where I think it's right before the finale where he puts her hand on his heart and then back on hers, again mimicking what happened in the charades to Mime, I Love You. Like that was
Yeah.
really, really, really good. I'm one of the people who thinks that they have strong chemistry at moments, but overall I don't find them to be notable. But this one's it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. But I just yeah, I justice for Anjali and like if this is, I hope this makes her happy. I hope she gets to be happy. And I hope that her self-knowledge, which is quite remarkable, I think,
Yeah.
serves her well in this new chunk of her life.
It's funny that
Oh,
you should say justice for Anjali because there's like a whole subset of people whose whole takeaway from Kuch Kuch Hota Hai is justice for Aman. Because they feel like the character of Aman, like, should have been with someone who actually loves him, which
well, and
Kajal clearly doesn't.
he can
Yeah.
be, he's fine. He's going to be fine. Um, the first time I watched this film, this was my first Salman film, I believe. And there was something, there was an initial impression I have, which I don't think really holds up, but I
Hmm.
found him to be sort of refreshingly lower key than the
Yes.
other, well, than Anjali and Rahul in this. So like I was kind of relieved when he came on the scene.
Yeah.
And eventually, obviously, I figured out what was going to happen. But like the first,
Yeah.
imagine you've only seen 3 Bollywood films and you don't know who any of these people are and whatever.
Yeah.
Um, there was something kind of more chill about him that I liked. But again, the whole like, hey, dude, I'm cool, dude. I call you like, that's very 90s though. And like, but I know we're trying to be like
That's also
cool.
very Salman, though.
Yeah,
Salman
it
has
just doesn't,
always been cringe.
it,
I've seen
yeah.
videos of him from like the 80s when he was still
Mm,
modeling. Like he hadn't even, I
hmm.
think he had just done his first movie, which was not Maine Pyar Kiya. I think his first movie was Meri Biwi Ho To Aise or Biwi Ka Jawab. It's one of those where
Mm,
I've seen that movie. But he was still like with the faux American accent, which this is a person who was born and raised in India. I'm like, why do you have an American
right,
accent? But
right.
someone has always been cringe. Let's face it. There has never been a time that this guy was not a tryhard.
And
Having said that, having
I
said
mean,
that, I actually do like him in Kuch Kuch Hota Hai because he
yeah,
is lower key. He's not shrill. He's one of the
no,
few people in this movie that is at ease. And that is the crazy thing about
he does
Salman.
seem at ease. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the hilarious thing about Salman, that anytime you pair Salman and Shah Rukh together, Salman actually ends up stealing the show, in my opinion. And I say this as a
Interesting.
diehard Shah Rukh fan
Interesting.
because, yes, there's movies where they've done together where, like, for example, Karan Arjun being the most notable one. Then there's a god awful movie called Hum Tumhare Hai Sanam that I have watched
I've
multiple
seen that.
times purely because I like Shah Rukh and Madhuri. And in so many of these films, I watch them for Shah Rukh, but Salman ends up coming across so not hammy
Mm,
and not overwrought compared to Shah Rukh. Like if you see some of the scenes in Karan Arjun where they're like, they have now decided to band forces together and take down Durjan and avenge their dad and avenge their mom and all of the things. Salman actually plays those scenes really well, where
mm,
Shah Rukh goes all out, where you're like, Rakesh Roshan, you're the
yeah.
director, rein this man in, rein him in.
Yeah.
Salman actually does not need to be reined in
Yeah.
those scenes. So weirdly, I think that when they're together, I appreciate Salman more. But when Salman is by himself doing his usual things, I don't like him. So
I
it's
mean,
weird.
this rewatch, I found that character really grating, but he is not shrill. He's kind of like overly, hey, dude, like dude in a way that I really don't like. And that doesn't seem like what a grown up would do to me. But
No.
by comparison, he's not hammy and kind of, well, he is hammy, but he's hammy in a different way.
Yeah.
And I justice for Alman, okay, sure, but he's going to be totally fine. And also, if you've
Yeah.
realized that your potential spouse doesn't love you, you also could decide not to get married,
Yes, I know. You
which
could
he
just be
really does
like,
too. But
because they both seem like sensible people, and
they
I
do.
can't imagine that Kajal would like Anjali would just tell her mom that this is not a marriage, this is a compromise. Like I don't love him. I imagine at some point she has made her feelings clear to him as well. I think,
Or
and
her
he
lack
probably
of feelings clear is, read the
right,
room.
right.
Sometimes
So
easier said than done, but still.
at that point, it seems like he's also okay with that. Like he's okay with
Yeah,
knowing that
I
he's
think
going to be the
so.
spouse that loves her, and
Yeah.
she's just in it because she feels like she
And
should get married. I don't know.
is theirs an arranged marriage? Because
I
if it
don't think
is,
it
yeah,
is.
I don't think we get that vibe. But like, if it were, then you'd be like, okay, like their parents wanted them to get together, and they're
Right.
both like they're okay with each other. He's more into it than she is. Like, okay, that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was unclear on whether we were supposed to
I
see
think
it
that's
that
the
way.
thing too that makes me sad about Anjali because it's like her whole discussion with her mom is basically about how she's willing to settle. And
Mhm.
my thing is, okay, but like why though? Like, why do you have to settle? I'm not saying you have to find the
Right.
love of your life or whatever, but it's also okay to not be married. it's also okay to
I
just
mean,
be a camp
yeah,
counselor,
I
a
wonder
teacher, or
if
whatever.
she feels
Like,
like it isn't, but we don't really get that interior life of
we don't
Anjali
get that
in that
either.
way.
Right.
It'd be
So
nice.
I'm a little confused. We actually do get Shark's perspective on it. Like, we
Hmm.
know that he has this very strong belief system and philosophy about you live once and you die once and you only fall in love once and you only get married once, all of which I disagree with. But like,
Right.
okay. But at least we know that that is
Yeah.
his thinking,
Yeah.
and he is willing to change that thinking for this
Yeah.
person that he loves. So again, that shows growth. But with
Yes.
her, I don't know why you're marrying this man that you clearly don't love.
Right.
It doesn't seem like your mom is the kind of person who's nagging you to do it
Doesn't
either.
seem to be, no.
Yeah. If anything, Shahruk's mom is the one who's nagging him,
Yeah.
kind of emotionally
Yeah.
blackmailing, but your mom
Yeah.
seems particularly chill. So it's kind of like, what? She just seems so like hurt and so shut down that I really just kind of want to know what
Yeah.
happened in those like 10 lost years. And it makes me sad for her. Also, I will say that one of my favorite songs to cry to is Tujhe Yaad Na Meri Aayi from this movie.
100% best song to cry to. And I wrote her name down and I've
So
already forgotten where I
good.
wrote it. The singer at the beginning who does the is it Rajasthani kind of style
Yeah,
at the
kinda,
beginning.
yeah.
Ooh, she like, oh, she's so good.
She, like, packs
She's
a
so
punch.
good. And that
It
is
just
just
because
heartbreaking.
her first note, like, when she says "Rabba," it sounds like a whale. It
Oh,
literally sounds like a whale, and it's just like, and then it's raining, and it's like, and then just to see Anjali, like, clutching the pillow and crying profusely, it really breaks my heart, and that video is
yeah.
actually shot so beautifully. Props to Farah Khan,
Yeah.
that it intersperses with the romance
I
of Shah Rukh
know.
and Rani, and you see them being all like lovey-dovey and sweet, and you see Kajol in pain, and it's just like,
Mm.
it's so heartbreaking. It's really one of the
And
saddest songs.
I like to think that even if you don't identify with Anjali, or like maybe you've never been the unrequited person, like first of all, how have you managed that? But like I'd like to think that that connects with the viewer, even if you don't sort of empathize in exactly the same way. But like that is just it's such a good song. It's so well done. And musically, I really like that song as
Yeah,
well. That's the one that I really think is that I would listen to kind of as a standalone, partly because that
yeah,
amazing vocal. Um, oh, it's
yeah. But
so beautiful.
that's I think the other thing that kind of made me sad. Like, I was happy that I had this movie that I can revisit and watch it so many times because I really do love it so much. But then it also made me sad where I was like, not only has, Bollywood's music really, really gone down, and choreography has really gone down, and acting has really gone down, like, on all levels. It just seems to have fallen so much that I just
Mhm.
don't enjoy movies any
Mm,
that much anymore. I would rather just watch my old favorites. But
mm,
it's also not just Bollywood in general. It's even Karan Johar himself. Because the last movie I saw, which was Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani, that we've spoken about on the podcast, and I know I liked it much more than you did, but it's not like I was a raving fan of that.
mhm.
And it's not like I care that much about it. And I'm certainly not going to be. I don't even know if there was a sad song in the movie. And if it is, I don't care and I don't remember and whatever. And even there's happy songs like Tum Kya Mile or whatever. Like, okay, cool, but I don't connect with it. And
Mm.
I don't think it's a nostalgia thing. I think it's just the caliber of the music is psh, and the caliber of the choreography is psh, and Alia Bhatt is just never, and Ranveer Singh, they're just never gonna get that out of me that those stars could.
I mean,
And it's Karan Johar is the same director.
this is us partly being we are old in a way,
But
like we're in our 40s, and I feel like that's probably not uncommon. I don't know, but I bet that's not uncommon. So our parents, like they didn't,
yeah,
do your parents love Shah Rukh and Kajol? I assume not as much, right?
no, my mom does not. But
Yeah.
my mom
So
also doesn't really watch Bollywood movies. But
mm.
but there's movies like older movies that we really love. There's newer
Oh
movies
yeah.
I love. Like, I love Sairat. It's one of my favorite romantic movies, and it's not that old. I mean, it's Sairat at this point is probably, I want to say, 8 years
Yeah, something
old
like
or
that.
something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I will always ship like Archie and Parsha, and like the songs from Sairat will always like
Mm,
kill me. Like, they will always murder me. So I don't know if it's that or Lutera. Lutera still has a very
mm,
strong place in my heart, and that's a 10-year-old movie. So
mhm.
I don't know if I buy the whole like nostalgia thing. I just don't think they make movies that well anymore, at least romantic movies. I think Bollywood is better now at like pushing the boundaries and
Mm.
doing movies that are a little bit out of the norm and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. I would just give me the older romances any day. I'll even watch Pardes again, which is a which is an idiotic film, but I love to watch it. Oh, did you know? I'm going to horrify you by telling you this. Did you know that Karan Johar is planning a remake of this movie?
Well,
Yes.
actually, one of the things I had been thinking about while watching was I feel like you could make this movie today. So I'm not saying you need to, but
Yeah,
you could. So, like, yeah, okay.
I
Okay.
would not watch it. I
I'll
will
watch
not
it.
watch it. Really?
Oh, yeah, probably. Probably. Because even though I don't always love what he does, I do think Keijo always has ideas and he's
Yes.
willing to put some things on the screen that and assign to sort of heroic, particularly men, that other people are not.
Yeah.
I think Kank is a great film. No, but I mean, there's a film saying that adultery not only is not the worst thing in the world, but it can help you work your way to a better life. That's great. In
Right.
its own way, right? Like in this film, I feel like um I don't know. I've never heard him talk about what the message of this film is. Um, I I love that it has these ideas of changing your mind, of realizing thing, of trying again, of learning and growing, the phrase I keep
Yeah.
using, right? This film is full of learning and growing. And I love
Yeah.
that. I love that because on the surface, it's this sort of like sunny, it's got this sort of like youthful romp aspect to it, very high
Yeah.
school, even though they're not in high school. Like, but then actually, there are these really interesting adults who have sort of who are trying to make their lives better. And I really, really love that. And for someone
Yeah.
who was, what was he when this film came out? Like he made this at 27 or 28 or something, really young.
Super young.
Um, that seems like a very mature response to me. So like I
Yeah.
have faith that he will be doing some things that I think are valuable. Even if I don't love all the aesthetics or if I don't find the romance as compelling or if it doesn't work for me or whatever, that's fine. So
Right.
yeah, I will watch whatever he makes, I
That
suspect.
is interesting what you just said, because I remember the first thing I noticed when resumed when I started this movie was um, that even the title name, like even the Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, is literally written in these like candy floss colors. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
bubblegum pink and
Yeah.
blue, and all
Yeah.
the songs, everybody is very, very brightly dressed. There's no
Yeah, a lot of
neutral in
primary
sight.
colors like
A
red,
lot of
yellow,
primary
blue all
colors.
over.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
look at your backdrop. It's like
Right.
all like
Yeah,
it's
like
like a
pink,
color
blue, red,
explosion.
yellow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Crayola box,
Oh yeah, and there's
and
little red and yellow
everything
kids.
about it is so like boppy and
Mhm.
teeny and like
Mhm.
fun and stuff like that. But like some of the issues that they talk about are really like,
Yeah.
very
And
gripping.
death and mourning and grief and
Yeah.
like being a
The movie
single parent
has
and
a
yeah.
lot of heart. In fact, the
Mhm.
other thing, what really shocked me, like literally I don't know why these things shock me, given I've seen this movie so many times. But like the first thing I noticed was candy floss colors, kuch kuch hota hai in English, and then kuch kuch hota hai in Hindi, and then kuch kuch hota hai in like Urdu or whatever. And then the opening shot of this film is a mournful Shahrukh standing
Right.
in front of the funeral pyre of his wife with the flames leaping up it. And I'm like, this, we're literally, the opening shot is a man in front of his wife's dead body
By
in a
himself,
crematorium
right?
by
Completely
himself.
by
Yeah. By
himself.
himself
Like
at
where are
night.
he doesn't have any friends. Where are his friends? Where's
I
his
think the assumption is
mom?
like people have left.
I assume
Because like,
so, yeah.
you don't just like wait around, I assume. And like he's still there.
Mm.
And that is literally have them. And then it transitions, that scene cuts and transitions into the same holy flames, but it's this time it's them getting married.
Right.
Because,
Right.
like, as Hindus, like, we use fire for everything. Like, even your name ceremony, when you're a little baby, there's a
Mm.
little yagya, there's the holy fire. When you get
Oh,
married, there's the holy fire. You die by fire. So the
yeah.
holy fire is everywhere. So it's literally like he is standing guard over his wife's dead body being consumed by the flames. And you cut to they're smiling and giggling and nudging each other and like being all cute
Yeah.
and bright eyed and bushy tailed in front of the fire. And it's like, it's a gut punch,
Yeah.
and the movie just began. And I was like, whoa, strap in, we're in for a ride.
And it also, I hadn't thought about that, but it shows you a side of Rahul that you're not going to see again for a long time. So
Right.
that we know that, well, we eventually can piece together that this man standing over that pyre is but 2 years older than the one that we meet, really. And you wouldn't know that because he's a man-child brat in the film, in the first part of the film. So yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Like if some fortune teller would have told the Rahul wearing the polo Ralph Lauren and the cool necklace or whatever that 2 years
cool
from
necklace.
now, he would
I'm
be
so
standing
glad
over
that was
there.
captured on film. That stupid necklace. Love it forever. Let me ask you a question about the very beginning. And as someone who, came to this initially with no cultural knowledge at all, it took me a long time to understand that funeral pyre was his wife. When you watched it, did you get that right away? That like you were backtracking through their married life in those two opening scenes?
It's really hard for me to answer that question now because I've seen that movie so many times.
Yeah.
And when I first saw the movie, I was so young. So it's because like I saw the movie when it came out, like in the theaters. And since then I've seen it so many times. It's like at this point, I
were you
just
like
don't remember.
basically 20 when the movie came out, something like that?
Something like that,
Yeah.
In fact, some of the extras in the song Koi Mil Gaya, like some of the extras that are dancing behind him, I know those faces. Like many of those faces I saw in my own college and stuff, because back then, so I went to college in Mumbai, and they would often post on the bulletin board, they would put little things for like, if you're a dancer and you're interested in like being an extra for like 500 rupees a day or something, come to this place, whatever. I remember the bulletin board had Signs for Josh, in fact, which I didn't know that movie was going to be like, it didn't say it was for the movie Josh. It just said like, come to this, blah, blah. And I remember my classmate was like, should we go? And then I was like, I don't know. It's probably some like, well, I was like, it's probably some C grade movie because it doesn't tell you any info. It doesn't say who the producer is, who the director is. It doesn't say Josh starring Shah Rukh Khan.
Well, no, you better not.
No, it just says like, do you like to dance? Would you like to earn 300 rupees a day? Show up at blah, blah, and do an audition for us. And my friend was like, let's do it. I was like, no, it's probably some C grade crap. And we never went. And then later on, I discovered it was Josh. And I was like,
does it say, to quote my favorite Charisma Kapoor song, do you like music?
Right.
I can't wait till I can't wait till we get to her in our Superstar series, by the way.
Right.
I have so much learning to do. Learning and growing.
I am so curious to see what movie you're going to pick for Karishma Kapoor
too.
as well as for Beth.
I don't even know what to choose. There's so many things I haven't
know
seen.
You will never choose. Okay, I can guarantee you are not going to choose Zubeda. You will not choose Pizza. Yeah, but you won't choose them though, Beth.
No, I probably won't. I want to choose things I haven't seen.
Oh, okay. I choose things I've seen, which I have strong opinions about. So I remember one time that they had invited me on Khandan, and Sujoy was like, okay, so which movie do you pick for yourself? And you could hear Amrita groaning on the video call. And she was kind of like, why are we giving her an option? And then, of course, I chose Mela. And then Amrita was like, only you.
Listen, someone has to.
Me a choice.
Someone has to talk about these movies.
Someone has to talk about Hello Brother and Mela and all of these things. But then Sujoy reverse Uno'd me because he picked, he made me talk about Tum Mere Ho, because we had been talking about Nagin movies. And then he reverse Uno'd me. And I was like, no, I only come on Khandan if I get to pick my movie. And he's like, no, you will talk about Tum Mere Ho. And I was like, and that was like cackling.
I somehow had not seen that movie, and that episode inspired me to actually watch it. And I love snake movies,
but I somehow had no, I know my favorite memory of that is like anytime Sujoy and I talk about the mirror, because we talk a lot about trashy films for some reason, because we're trashy people. And his favorite thing to do is to say, "Kategi kya?" It's the most horrible thing ever, because he's so darling. Like, he's such an adorable, cute, darling man. And then when he says something as awful as "kategi kya," it's just the cognitive dissonance is too much. So anyway, we have gotten backtracked again.
Okay.
Sidetracked again. Okay, do you have any closing thoughts on Kuch Kuch Hota Hai?
I feel like I did have one more thing, and I'm looking through my notes. I apologize to try to find. Oh, do we think it's true that Rahul and Anjali bring out the worst in each other?
Yes. 100%.
That was a thought I had this time that I hadn't thought about before. And then I thought, well, you know what? Good for them, because finding someone who can deal with your worst, or for whom your worst is not unbearable, is pretty important in life,
Yeah,
right? So like, I think your
that's
friends
true.
and your partner and whatever, the people you're closest to, are people who can manage you, who can manage being with you in some way at your worst. Because I think we've all been with friends or partners or whatever who their worst made us feel small or belittled or terrible or whatever. Don't be with that person, but they seem to enjoy each other at
Yeah.
their worst in a way, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, except for the time that Anjali showed up in the terrible outfit and he laughed at her.
right, that's true.
Yes.
I was thinking more of basketball, I guess, which is not.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe that's true. Okay, so maybe they can't. I'm hopeful that they seem to understand each other at their worst, at least.
They
Which again, I
get
think is
each other.
yeah, it's like a kind of remarkably mature insight, I think, for a film,
Yeah.
that looks so, as you said, bubblegum and sort of Archie's on the surface. And again,
Yeah.
for a writer who was 26 or 27 or whatever is pretty great. This
Yeah,
movie's pretty great.
it's like that one time that I was chatting with my best friend about something, and then she said something, and then I was like, I cracked some terrible joke as usual, and then it was like, so sorry, I can be such an asshole sometimes. And she was like, well, you're an asshole, but you're my asshole. And I was like, oh.
Exactly.
So Rahul is an asshole, but he's Anjali's asshole.
I
And
guess
Anjali can
so.
be an asshole, but she's his asshole. So it's fine. Tina is not the asshole, and that is why she
No.
dies. So
She's
the
like,
moral of
I
the
can't with
story
you
is
people.
be an asshole, because if you're an asshole, you'll have a happy ending. If you're an actual good
Hmm.
human being and you're kind and empathetic and a lovely person who accepts everyone, you're gonna die an early death.
Well, she did risk childbirth, and it said that she knew she might have trouble, so she brought that on herself.
Yes. Wonderful,
Sorry,
wonderful.
Tina, I don't
I
actually think
love
that.
how wonderful people we are, Beth.
Mm.
Okay, well, I think that is all of our brain spewings from this rewatch of Kuch Kuch. What are you doing?
We're gonna do the hand thing when we sign off.
Okay. It's this,
Yeah,
and then it's that, right? Yeah.
it's this and then the nose.
Okay.
We did not rehearse this, can you tell?
We did not rehearse it. Okay. Well, thank you for watching this episode of Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. Tell us what you think about this movie. Tell us if you're Team Rahul, Team Anjali, Team Tina, Team Miss
Or
Braganza, whose team you're on.
I was gonna say Team Miss Berganza. Aha. I just wrote that on Twitter. I wrote Miss Berganza, aha, and everyone was like, yes. She's the greatest. Justice for
She's
Ms. Berganza.
amazing.
Frankly, she deserves someone better than that
Yeah.
guy.
She actually does deserve Parmeet Sethi, who is gorgeous as all get out. Actually, have you noticed Archana Puran Singh and Parmeet Sethi have been married for so long and they completely look like each other?
Oh, I have never
They really
noticed.
do. They look
I will
identical
look.
to each other at this point. It's amazing. Anyway, so tell us whose team you're on, and tell us what you think our filmy Camp Sunshine should be called.
Oh,
And do you
yes.
think I should be in charge of picking the venue, or if cooler, saner minds should have that opportunity? And
And
do you
if
want to
you
come to our camp?
and do you have a venue that we could rent? Anyone got a farmhouse we can borrow for a couple weeks?
A murderous farmhouse behind a
Preferably
haunted cemetery. That would be great.
with a crocodile pond.
Yeah.
We have a lot of
I'm
demands,
here for
actually. It'd be
that.
hard to find and preferably some Himalayan or Swiss mountains are nearby.
Yes.
Preferably there's a beach. Like, we have a lot of requirements.
So many. There has to be like a big enough ground for us to do a coordinated group dance.
Oh yeah, that's a
There
given.
has to. And also there has to be like a wardrobe of clothes that we can borrow, because we all
Mhm.
have to wear the shiny pleather and do
Oh
like
yeah.
You Are My Sonia or something, despite the fact that we do not have Kareena Kapoor's body.
Can you be our camp choreographer?
I feel like we will also need a camp counselor and
Oh,
definitely a
sure.
bartender.
I mean, I can
Yes.
be a camp counselor. I feel like that's kind of, I sometimes give tours of my museum. So I feel like I've got some of that if
Hmm.
needed. Although I really would like to just be a camper.
Yeah, yeah.
We can take
Just be a
turns being
camper.
counselor, or everyone can be a counselor with a clipboard and a visor and a whistle.
Perfect. I will be in charge of the ghost stories around the fireplace at night.
Yes.
I will do that.
Yes.
I will regale everybody with that. I will also be in charge of the projector at night, where I will stream all of my monster movies. And then at night when
Yay.
people are scared and they come to me crying, I'll scare them even more.
I love this.
Wonderful.
And you may think we're
Perfect.
joking, but I'm kind of not joking. I think this would be amazing.
We can charge people for admission
Yeah.
and like really scalp them. right?
Maybe we have to keep prices reasonable to get it off the ground, but then
Eventually we'll scalp them because we also want to live that very like nouveau riche flashy lifestyle that current horror movies have.
should it be in Darjeeling?
It
Our
can.
summer camp?
Darjeeling seems fairly haunted enough. So yeah, I would support that, or the Nilgiri Hills,
And
or
then we could
Coorg or
use
something.
the Mehuna school for our dance practice and basketball games, obviously.
And the little train, we can use the little train and do a coordinated dance to Customaza,
Darjeeling has everything.
wearing a muffler. And then there will be a dead body, whose we do not
Ooh.
know. Okay, okay.
Dun dun dun.
More of this conversation will happen offline. Because otherwise we won't shut up. But we hope you enjoyed this episode of Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, of Filmi Ladies featuring Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. And we will see you next week with another episode. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and stay fabulous.
And
Bye.
don't be a cheater.